You guys, what a tangled web we weave when we first seek to deceive. Anyway, uh, well, I finished up everything. I mean, I had to finalize it. That's why, I mean, Jonathan, you actually expected me at the last minute when everything's ready to go. I'm just, I actually had to because I put in some title slides, so I had to reprocess it. And I added in some more at the end since I'm all on my own on this project. I mean, and I have been from day one. I mean, really, really, if this was a work environment, oh my lord, really, you'd be looking at lawsuits. And I don't know what this, these strong arm tactics are all about. I don't know if this was planned from the beginning and the agreement to do the chats was just to appease me, or and it was, or if it was some ha 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 ha, let's make a run around for 3 weeks and drag this out and drag this out and drag this out just to amuse ourselves. I mean, I don't know. If you didn't want to do the chats, you should have said so at the beginning. I've got the videos. I mean, thank God all of this is recorded. And I mean, everything from now, really, I mean, I'm done. I'm done. Oh, I had to put up with all sorts of crap while Dad was still alive. But I don't have to anymore. Nobody can hurt him anymore. And Duran, I can promise you he is watching. And he's not happy. And, it's funny because there was this tarot reader that I had contacted. I said, "Oh, I wanted to find out some more, about Dad. I have another meeting in a couple of days with the first one because I wanted to find out right away." And she wrote me back. She said she didn't, have time, but she felt compelled to pull a card for me. And when I read the message, I was like, "This makes no sense whatsoever." I mean, because this is really what I've been doing forever. I mean, but now it's starting to make sense. And I think I'd actually have maybe from Dad. I'm gonna ask the tarot reader. And don't worry, I'm not getting all like, you use that I'm going crazy. No, it's just a hell of a lot more interesting than what's going on in the news. My lord, it's a bunch of cackling hens. I mean, this is exactly the problem that we're seeing all over the place. I mean, if you see those meetings, nobody's listening to a freaking word I'm saying. I have to repeat and repeat and re-explain and re-explain. And I mean, I do for with patience for a while, but patience has its limits. I mean, really, really, really. I had said, I had said 1 week. And then Jonathan comes to me 3 weeks later and said, "Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't have time until now." I mean, you guys, you're always, "Oh, I work so hard. I'm so tired. He has a job." Yeah, Duran, I remember when Jonathan there was a bunch of paperwork or something like that, and you're calling me up. "You have to help him. You have to help him. He's overwhelmed." And I was like, "My lord, who's helped me?" I mean, when I was in Spain running around, and believe me, if he thought he had paperwork and stuff like that, oh, try going through what I went through in Spain. And everybody was talking, "Oh, I'm the American." Ha ha ha, isn't it funny to make the American run around like a chicken with her head cut off? This is the game. And I know this game. My God, they've been playing it in Washington forever. What do you think I'm trying to clean up? And I think maybe that's what's upsetting you all. But this is how Trump got into power. And this is how I knew he'd get into power. And I don't know, if you guys really don't go down this road of trying to suppress what I have to say. I mean, Duran, the whole thing, I just saw the thing about Marianne and hot flashes. This is 2020, Duran. We're no longer 1930. This is, I mean, maybe if this was like, yeah, Mom. Oh, we don't talk about that. But Duran, this is exactly the problem. I mean, it's rampant all over Washington. Now I understand why, with all of these years, all of the labor rights violations, all of the housing rights violations, which are disgusting, which really, quite frankly, if you cared about your country, you would be upset as I am. I mean, Jonathan, you have a whole slew of friends that are friends here in Washington that are lawyers. They all have contacts. I mean, you got your job through a contact at Broker's Wrist. I mean, you all even said in the ceremonies how Mom had given you all of these opportunities. She put you in the right networks. I mean, for me, the opportunity that she gave me was an education that taught me to use my brain. I mean, that's one of the things that I always say about Foxcroft and Cobham. I said, don't be afraid to use your brain, and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. You got a brain, and lady, you know how to use it. I mean, Kendra, this whole thing when you came out that I didn't excel at Foxcroft, I mean, what was that all about? I mean, yeah, sure. Oh, the whole social climbing stuff and the brown nosing to all of the rich girls. No, I wasn't into that. But, I mean, I'm the one who excelled academically. Really, out of everybody here. I mean, Duran, yeah, you were a straight A student, but this is what I'm showing, and I'm showing, and I'm showing that, yeah, all of these straight A students, yeah, they know how to memorize. Sure, you know how to memorize for a test. But they don't understand, any of the stuff that they're reading or how it applies to the real life. I mean, we see this all over Washington, all over. And believe me, I'm not the only one who's sick of it. I don't know. Was my question, I guess, at this point was this planned, that between the three of you, or Jonathan and Duran, or did Duran plan this and then everybody jumped on board, that you would just pretend that you wanted to do the chats and get all of this and have me, take me for a ride and play me for a fool, which I'm not? Or after Duran saw the chats, and is that why you went, Duran? Because we did have this discussion about Kendra, and we were all concerned, and maybe this is how you're justifying it in your twisted brain. We did have the discussion about Kendra, and we were all concerned, very, very, very concerned, that she would start bad-mouthing Mom. And that's why we didn't want her in a separate chat room. So that if she did start, then somebody could, somebody would be there to jump in and cut her off. That was the reason. It wasn't to censor anything that she might say. The other thing, Duran, I'm still trying to figure that one out about the cats. Our cats in Madrid. The only thing that I think you can come up with is we're talking about reproduction and kind of abortion. No, it's not abortion. They're fixing the cats. Or how they these horrible things that they do to the cats. This whole thing of, oh, don't say this. Oh, we don't talk about that. Oh no, we don't talk about that. See, this is all part of the cover-up. And now I'm beginning to understand why I've never gotten any help from this family. And it's funny because since the beginning, I do a whole comparison that what happened to me in Spain, because believe me, it's when you look at the legal system under the Constitution, that's why when they said, "Oh, this is Spain," I was like, "Oh, don't try and even take me out of that jurisdiction. I prefer to be in that jurisdiction than the United States. I got a hell of a lot more to work with there." So anyway, I guess that's where we are. But, also I want to let you all know, Duran's been playing this game all of her life. I mean, what happened was that Duran came to me at the very beginning that day when I said I'm sick and tired of being screamed at because I didn't send out the email when Madame had ordered. Oh, and I was like, no. And then she's like, well, let me give you some advice from experience. Duran, I have so much more experience in all of this than you do. And that's why you were afraid to have me in on the first presentation. You're saying that I had wanted this because that's how your brain works. And Jonathan, also, when you said, are you threatening to destroy Duran? See, that's the mentality of you guys. That's not my mentality. No. Duran's going to destroy herself. Because, see, the thing is, I was of the, amongst the upper class, if you will, the ruling elite of Bogota society. Why? Because of Xavier's position. And yeah, we had a big house. Duran. I've never been fooled with this whole, you're my favorite sister, you're my favorite sister, you're my favorite sister. I mean, if you had really cared about me when I was in Spain, you would have been harassing Mom, like I think you've been harassing Jonathan and filling his head with all of this stuff. I mean, I can't wait to hear all that story. But no. Oh, nobody wanted to get involved. Nobody wanted to get involved. I was on my own. I mean, I survived. Believe me, I had 0.25% chance of survival. Now, when you got sick and you were in the hospital and everything, I mean, Jonathan went running. And when they were going to go on some visit or something like, oh, no, I'm staying here. I came to see my sister. I mean, I didn't have much chance of a survival, and I made it out. And the thing is, all of this, you guys just, there's so many people involved in this cover-up. And I think that's also what you're afraid of. But, if somebody had helped me from the beginning, this wouldn't be where it is today. I mean, Xavier, I have no doubt, he is human trafficking, prostitution, and money laundering it for there. And I know everybody's like, oh God, that scandal that's coming out. Yeah, it is. It is. You see the Jeffrey Epstein? I'm telling it to everybody. Oh, my case is Jeffrey Epstein, take off a couple zeros and the net worth. Oh, I have these mansions. Nor did I. I mean, this whole thing about I was the social climber and the parasite. I mean, this Ken I've gotten for you for I don't know how long. I mean, anytime I want to know what the feminists are thinking, all I got to do is call you up and get a earful from you of what a useless parasite I am. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, I could do so many different jobs, and it's ridiculous. I mean, come on, you guys. I can't get a job because I'm white. I can't get a job because I'm American in my own country. This is what they're putting in, the Indians. Oh my God, the Indians, they're a lot. And the think tanks and everything. But see, the thing is the think tanks are not producing anything. They're fraudulent. They just blah, 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 produce more rhetoric, more reports, more speeches, and lots of money. You can't imagine, since I've been here, how many NGOs have opened. They just opened another one. And I mean, all of them are looking, I mean, a lot of them, I mean, the little ones, like Paula Lucas Duran of the American Overseas Domestic Crisis Center. She shut it down. She of course, what they do is somebody comes after them and say, wait a second, you're not doing what you say you're doing. So they shut that one down, and then they open up another one and get lots of donations, because Paola Lucas's thing is this gives her the money to jet set around the world to visit and schmooze with all of the ambassadors. I mean, in her presentation, she even said she married her husband in the first place, the social climb, to get to jet set around the world. That was my case. Xavier was the social climber. I made Xavier into what he was. He never would have gotten to where he was if it hadn't been for me. So this whole thing about me being the parasite on society, and believe me, there's a hell of a lot of jobs I could do better in this town. A number of the restaurants. I mean, Kendra, you said you never wanted to own a restaurant because it's too much work. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Well, I'm going to end up with quite a few restaurants here. So I don't know, the idea has been I mean, Xavier said I would commit suicide and, have to prostitute myself in order to survive. I mean, you all know the landlord is trying to evict me, and I'm worried, where am I going to go? How am I going to deal with this? But you guys don't care, do you? At all. I mean, Xavier even told me, he said, nobody cares about you. And I was like, I know. I've known that all my life. I'm a husband, I'm a family. It is what it is. But believe me, if I made it where I am today, it was hard work. As Dad said, I told him in 2007 when they were in Madrid, I always said, God, Dad, I so admired you always. And he said it was hard work. I mean, my God, you see the videos? All of you are just lying there while I'm running around working, and you're complaining how tired you are. I mean, I've been working nonstop since I've been back to DC. And oh my God, like with Lucy, 12 years to do one PhD. I've done dissertation work on about 12 PhDs. And I know everybody keeps on saying, oh my God, you're all over the map. You got to focus, you got to focus. No, believe me, there's too much focus and everybody's missing the big picture. And what I'm going into right now, as soon as I finish, well, all of you guys, is basically the same crap that's going on in Washington happened, the roaring 20s. And this is when we ended up in the crash. And who straightened things out a bit is Emily Post. She didn't have any official title, but she was one of the most influential women in this town. Why? Because she knew everybody, she knew how to schmooze, she knew how to do all of that. And yeah, I'm thankful for Mom. She did teach it to me. I mean, Kendra, why do you think she made me go to the stupid debutante party instead of you? God, you would have jumped at the chance. I mean, you were the logical choice. I would have been happy for you to do it. Why now it'll work in my favor because I was a debutante. I mean, Kendra, Cornelia guessed. I don't know if you guys have read anything that I've been writing all of these years. I mean, there are thousands of pages. I got a couple of books there. I mean, academic books or political books, more like that. But I also have one hell of an autobiography. And I think that's probably what everybody's scared of. So, I mean, you know, this is some other effort to shut me up. It's not going to work, and it really is not a good idea. So anyway, I finished mine. Oh, and Daron, you know what? I think the problem, can I ask you, the problem with the dinner, is that because Freddie's there and you don't want Christina in Bogota to know? I don't know, is he your booty call, or are you all going out, or what's going on there? Is that, I mean, you were secretive like that with Alberto. I remember when I went to Bogota and everybody would say, oh, it's, you know, they'd try and get information out of me. And I'd just play dumb because you said you didn't want, you know, anybody to know. If that was your issue with the dinner, why don't you just tell me? Don't try to stab me in the back. And believe me, when the whole thing exploded in Madrid, you know, I knew. Well, I mean, I've seen these backstabbing games. I knew Xavier didn't realize everything, but he already spilled beans on quite a bit of it. And I knew. And I said, Clemencia and Anne were there, and I said, look, I don't, you know, I got nothing to hide. Believe me, I don't lie, like many I know. And I you know, I've never in my life done anything to stab anybody in the back or intentionally hurt them. And if I've ever been involved, oh God, with Bogota guy, believe me, Brigitte from Carrefour, one day I saw her drawn and I said, oh Lord. And she said, oh, you didn't do anything wrong, but you are with a bunch of vipers. I said, tell me about it. I mean, come on, Daron. People had approached me the first time the president stepped down and left. And the others too came in because they were so scandalized that they would have an American as their president. And so they came in, not because they wanted to do it, was to save Bogota gay. I mean, I've always been put in positions of power or leadership, if you will. I mean, amongst the victims here, one of the victims that I did a court watch for, she said afterwards, she said, my God, you're so charismatic. I was like, well, if I was more charismatic, I'd be up on a podium, but I know that's not true. And the crux of the problem is that nobody wants it exposed, that the psychological abuse. I mean, it's, you know, an age-old thing. So, you know, I assume that's what this is all about. I mean, all of your things, well, I'll go over, I made a list. So, the hour-long presentation, that it's too long. You should have never started this in the first place. Okay? But you went through it because you knew I was insisting and I would do it myself. So I guess you thought if you came on board, then you could pull this at the end. I don't know. Or either after Daron saw the chats, she didn't like everything I had to say. I think it's more of a problem that I do come out looking very, very good, articulate, intelligent. I can talk about all sorts of intelligent things instead of just recipes or you know, stuff like that. I mean, we have the words. There's a lot of stuff about stories. And as I said, you wanted to cut something. I told you all at the beginning. You're not going to tell me what you don't want. This was not how it was going to go down. I was very clear about that. And Duran's maneuvering to become the new dominator of the family now that mom's gone and take her place. Kendra and Duran, you want to get on board with Duran, you're more than welcome. That's fine. I mean, after everything we've gone through in the past months, you guys are exhausting me with all of your, I mean, you remember when 3 days, and I'm here trying to clean this place, and you and Jonathan are calling me and screaming and I mean, 3 days for me to figure out what the hell your problem was. Mom destroyed herself like this. And Duran, this is just as erratic, and Jonathan and Kendra, just as erratic as something Mom would pull. I mean, you saw the Cazelles were saying something about one day Mom and Dad just know where they're going to leave. We're all familiar with that. But I mean, that's why everybody thought Dad was crazy, because she was so erratic and always off on the mood. Crazy stuff. Because she never thought of the consequences of anything that she did. Xavier's the same, and you guys are the same as well. So, and Kendra, something that I wanted to let you know, that, and this, I was furious. This was also at the beginning when Duran is trying to establish her pecking order in the little family that's left. That Mom at the end, this again was, they voted that you shouldn't be told this. What the hell are you people? You vote? That's not something you can vote on. I can tell anybody I want anything I want. You can't vote on what people can say and what people can't say. I mean, really, this country is really in dire straits. So anyway, Kendra, apparently Dad had an affair. Mom said, she was like, if you knew the details, you would be scandalized. So what we could kind of piece together was that's why we left Tucson so quickly, which would make a lot of sense on what happened afterwards. Because, if Dad was going to separate from Mom, and then they were separated when we got to Covington, kind of trial separation or something. I think Dad was just at the point where he couldn't take it anymore. And that's when, I told the story about the vest in Florida and the shark. Of course, what I didn't add on was how that trip ended. And Kendra is the one who told me that she had overheard Mom in the telephone cabin the night before screaming and yelling at Dad. So now, in retrospect, really probably what happened was he didn't want to go. He couldn't, and he was like, I'm done. And he was going to leave. So what she did was called the cops. And can you imagine? It breaks my heart. And I cry when I think of it. I know you guys don't even care. You just want to cover it up. Do you know? He was wrestled to the ground. He was probably dragged. He was attacked. He was dragged off. Jonathan, you said that you saw him in catatonic states. That wasn't because his mind wasn't working properly. It was because his mind just shut down. There's only so much of that you can take. My God. When I was in Madrid, I mean, I wasn't going to flee. Enid, she said, grab your kids and run. I said, I can't. They'll throw me in prison. And I knew Zebby was trying to get me in prison or a psychiatric ward. Oh, and that he would have drugged me up. And now I see very well, nobody in my family. Oh, yeah. Shut her up. This is what we did to her father. So let's do it to her. But I mean, just think about it for a minute. Think about it for a minute. You want somebody to come into your house and, grab you and, manhandle you and roughhouse you for nothing. You haven't done anything. And drag you off and dope you up. Of course he was in a catatonic state. That's what they do. Now, you guys might not care about that, but I do. And first, one thing I'm going to do is vindicate Dad's reputation. And I know you don't want that coming out, but it's going to happen. I mean, my Lord, do you people have no compassion for anybody? I mean, really, what you guys have done to me in the past month with this Zoom thing? Oh, no. And Duran, I saw something. You were cropping and cropping. Yeah, because I had told you I cropped them for your convenience to try and you didn't have to look through the 5 minutes. My God, if you weren't going to look at anything, you at least be honest. No, was this just oh yeah, let's get her to do all of this work. I mean, you should see my new computer, the memory shot. Thank you very much. This is the new one. I had to do it on the 3. I had stuff processing. I mean, really, you guys, don't take me for a fool. And Kara, what's this thing about the copyright? I don't understand what your question is, that I have to put it private on my listing on YouTube because of copyright issues? Why did you come up with that one? I have stuff that's flagged copyright on public. That's because it has some music in there, from singers and artists. And so YouTube reads that. But as I explained, oh my Lord, how many times did I explain to all of you people, but you don't listen to anything, that since my account is not monetized, there's no problem. It's only if you steal somebody's work, and like if I was to play that and said that I was the one who's singing, even though, I mean, they'd know, they'd hear the voice. But something like that, yes. So I don't get this copyright stuff. That's another one of your things that you're pulling out of a hat. I mean, please, you guys, start coming up with some sort of logical, arguments. I mean, it's kind of like with Trump. No, let him speak because they're digging your holes. I mean, Kendra's always been Jonathan. I didn't realize. And I mean, I've seen some stuff in the past 12 years of anger management. Oh, and that Meredith thinks I'm crazy. That's fine. That's fine. Believe me. Meredith doesn't scare me. I mean, I don't know what you're going to put her up on stand to come and testify. I mean, is that the next move or something like that? I don't know what you guys got planned. Anyway, I just don't have time for it. I really don't. So, I wish good luck. I will not talk to you or have any communication with you except on video. You keep on, I mean, you contradict yourselves all the time. And thank God I have I have a recording because Duran says, I have witnesses. Yeah, of course, you got your little witnesses that are in your pocket. That doesn't count, Duran. No, I mean, a democracy doesn't work like that. And also, you can't just say, democracy, we vote. I mean, this really, 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 really. I mean, I don't know. I've sent out mine. I don't know if you guys sent out yours. I'm not embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for you guys. Because, as I say, in this thing, oh, it was boring. Look, I cut the dinner damn thing down to 5 minutes because you and Duran were bitching. Everybody was saying it had to be 1 hour, which, I mean, logically, it makes no logical sense. If you already have an hour and you want to limit it to an hour, why do you go out and have those chats? And Jonathan, you saying, oh, it was a nice, the whole point of re-recording was to make the video. It wasn't to invite them back. You can't do that. That's really, really rude. I mean, really, this country needs a real good lesson in etiquette and manners. We don't do that. And all of this debate, who should we invite to come back? No. Oh, will they feel obligated? Have you guys ever done any event planning? No, you send out the invites. You don't want to offend anybody. So that's precisely why you wouldn't restrict it. So let me see. I'll tell you how long it's ending. Approximately. So I did lengthen on my, since I'm all on my own, I mean, I'll make the decisions on my own. So I did, because I agree. I mean, I had a whole lot more of the dinner. I'd look through some other stuff and I just didn't have time. And I mean, I could have really screwed you guys over, but I'm not going to do that. But I mean, I don't work like that. So let me see, hold on. So now about an hour there, 2, 3, 4. Comes out not quite 5 hours. But that's another thing that you guys, the logic just is all over the map. If we had the entire video from the beginning, the original one, that's how long this thing would have been. I mean, you had the presentation with the words, and then you had 3 video chats. Those would have been played one after another. I still have the question of, would that, how is that going to record? And that's another thing, Duran. A lot of this stuff, for example, all of this stuff, this was in your ball court. You're working with Kira. I loaned you all my Zoom account. It should have been done on the cloud. I mean, I was doing the testing, but then you guys are coming with last minute. Oh, maybe Quenby should prepare if she has to take over the presentation. See, I can do it, Duran. This whole thing that if we didn't have Kira, we wouldn't be able to do it. And I mean, you make a comment of, our parents would be amazed that we would put this together. Well, they would be amazed that you, Jonathan, or Kendra could have put this together. But no, I could have put it together very easily. I would have to play with the presentation, the sharing of it, that I've never done. But God, All the stuff she did in PowerPoint, I know how to do. And I think that's why you didn't want me involved in the project. You wanted to be the center of attention, and quite frankly, I couldn't care less. Really, I couldn't care less. I can't stand being the center of attention. That's the problem with everybody here. All they care about is being center of attention. And that's why nothing's getting done. Believe me, that's the thing that I most don't want, is when this whole frickin' thing falls apart, that I will be the center of attention. And believe me, I don't look forward to it. But I got to do what I got to do. I mean, if anybody had helped, I mean, I guess this was God's will, because it has sent me down a road that I've learned a hell of a lot that I never would have known had this project, Global Expats, gotten up from day one. But I have shown, everybody that I'm here for them, not here to kiss ass to the ambassadors and in the case of the IMF Family Association, it's the MD's wife, Ann Sinclair. I mean, really, you guys, let me show you here. I don't know if you can see it. There's not a lot of light, really enough. But we got a whole slew of people. This is the one that I'm working on for the presentation. I mean, you guys can go online and take a look. See down there, Duran, at the bottom, you got FACO, you got FIAF, World Bank Family Association, IMF, National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. I mean, I've got Ingrid Betancourt in there. Duran, the thing is like with Ingrid and Astrid Betancourt, they've known about this. And they have a French citizenship. And in France and Spain, which is also going to complicate everybody's problem in Spain, is there's an obligation to assist. It's criminal non-assistance to a person in danger. So if a person is in danger and it doesn't put your life in danger, you have an obligation to assist that person. I mean, they can come after, criminal. It's under the penal code. So that's also going to be a problem for Astrid and Ingrid with their French nationality. Well, there's also a lot of Spaniards in there on that one. But, and Jonathan, this whole thing of, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get involved. First, it's my project. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get involved. So why do you get involved? This is the same game that some neighbors played with me. And I mean, both of them are going to go to jail. They both signed a letter and it's perjury for the courts. And I'll end up with their house. I mean, this is defamation of character. And I can't believe, nobody cares. I mean, this is your family name too. Basically, we're all white trash. I'm not. Mom taught us all of the social traces and all of those, how to be a lady. But as I said, when they took everything, threw me out on the streets, I said, I'm not a lady for the clothes I wear, the car I drive, or the house I live in. I'm a lady for who I am and what I've done with my life. And actually, I think that's what attracted the Aznar's, Aznar was out by and President Aznar, a minister, one of his cabinet ministers. I went out with him for a couple of weeks before I left Madrid. Oh, he can attest to what a state I was in, with good reason. But I think, believe me, there are some people out there who respect me and have a lot of admiration and are looking up to me and looking towards me to stand up to everybody. And that's what I'm doing. And, you know, obviously it's pretty evident that the closer I get to that, the more you're going to try and muzzle me. I mean, come on. My favorite is Daron keeps on referencing Marianne and Caroline as you know, who we have to do this for. Again, wait until Belinda hears that one. Really? I mean, I don't know how you thought you would explain it. That here you ask people to come back and you just cut their chats. You explain it to your people. Oh, Jonathan, I didn't send any of your friends. Ken, I didn't send any of your friends. And Daron, I took Christina off there. And I'm sure what really, really, really bothered you is that Freddie was over having dinner. And you don't want anybody to know about it. I mean, come to me and tell me things. And believe me, I've seen how you've been. Oh God, when you know, Mom and Dad went to Chicago. I know you're working, Jonathan. You were positioning yourself to take over command when Mom died. And I don't want command of this family. You go and take your family and command them, Daron. You know, you've got your little court. That's fine. I don't need a court. I don't need, I don't need people to, collude with me to gang up on somebody else. This is what this is. So I think, I wanted to finish. Okay, yeah, the dinner thing, I went through that. Oh, the thing about Peggy and Lucy, I don't think that Peggy and Lucy read the email. I don't think that Peggy and Lucy understood they were being recorded. Can you call Peggy and Lucy to confirm? I said, sure. I mean, first, how would you know what's going through Peggy and Lucy's head, or whether they read something or didn't read something, unless they told you that? And then you would have said, they told me, instead of, I don't think they read it. I mean, that's something that Mom would come up with, or Daron. That sounds like a Daron invention. I mean, it wasn't clear. Of course it was clear. What it was Daron saw the dinner one and said, oh shit, I didn't realize that this would go in, or that this was for publication. The original, well, actually we hadn't really discussed about putting that into a video, but it was there for remembrance. So, there's no logic to what you all are arguing, okay? So let's see if I had anything else. Oh, one other thing. This really angered me. I mean, Daron, I was fit to be tied when I heard you say to the Cazelles at the beginning of the chat. And I think this is another thing that's embarrassing you, because you were just oozing. Oh yes, my brother, he just insisted that this video had to be made. After all I went through with you guys? I mean, I was like, I can't believe she just said that. Oh, and Jonathan hung you out to dry at the end because he hadn't been on. And then he said that, he really hadn't, wanted to redo it at the beginning. And that's when I jumped in and said, but his older sister overrode him. And I'm overriding you guys again. I mean, I really don't understand what you think gives you the right to play me for a fool and then turn around and say, oh, guess what? All the work that you've just done in the past week, we're not going to use. I mean, if you had been paying me, that's another thing. If you had been paying me, then it is your property. But it was the Zoom account was mine. I set up the meetings. I did all of the work. I put everything together. Oh, and Duran. Oh, Lord. When you guys insisted and badgered me and badgered me and badgered me and badgered me that we couldn't have, and this afterwards came from Jonathan, but I know Jonathan's your emissary. Okay, when you couldn't get to me and I wouldn't do your bidding and I wouldn't do as you told me, you said, oh, I'm going to get this bitch back. I'm going to sabotage her project and I'm going to get Jonathan on board. I mean, we even talked about the whole Sufi thing, and Lucy was, what's the long-term effects of, your interrogation procedures? Stockholm syndrome. We saw it with Dad. And in fact, Mom has Munchausen or had Munchausen proxy by syndrome. I mean, I think, Duran, you might suffer from that as well. So anyway, that really pissed me off. I mean, I just was like, how can you dare do that, Duran? I mean, when I saw that, I was like, you have no shame, do you? And also then it was like, ding, ding. Oh, Duran just wants this to be all about Duran, her daughter, and Jonathan. And I'll tell you, quite frankly, I had the impression that my children were dead. I know for you guys, they are dead. I mean, I know you don't care one little bit of everything that they've suffered. We lived through that. We suffered it. You should have at least a little compassion for my children. But you don't. Not one little bit. I mean, this thing, we're working so hard. Everybody's like, Jonathan's working. He's got a 9-to-5 job. I hold a full-time job down for the past 12 years. Plus, I work every sick freaking day. I never go on vacation. The only time is when you guys are passing by on vacation. And it usually costs me about $1,000 out of pocket. And I mean, yeah, I want to see Dad. But quite frankly, having to put up with Mom with no freaking vacation. At least I got to see Dad. I mean, one of my big things with the domestic violence people is they've got this whole debate going on parent alienation syndrome, and that it doesn't exist, it exists, it doesn't exist. I won't get into the whole debate. Believe me, it's as circular as yours. But I'm like, of course it exists. I saw my mother do it all the time. My husband did it with my children. Of course it exists. But see, in the courts, they're using that to explain why, sexually abused children are rejecting their abuser. I mean, the logical thing is if somebody's raping you, you're not going to be too happy to be around them. But no, they say it's the other parent putting things in that head. And this flies because, believe me, the alpha dominance people, which, this is basically just alpha dominant stuff, want to cover all of this up. Believe me, I'm fighting the alpha dominance feminist as much as the alpha dominance, men. I mean, Jonathan, you're getting in the arena of white male supremacist with this. I mean, one thing that I've been arguing the whole time is this is no different than what's going on in any Muslim or Arab family in some pueblo in the middle of Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever. It's the same dynamics. It's the same story. You know, she belongs to that family. If you want to kill her, go ahead. Let's see the other thing. Oh, yeah, I guess I already said this, Daron, that mom and dad would be amazed that we did this. I can do this. And I think that's also what bothers you is that I did do it and everybody sees that not only am I very competent in technology and administrative duties, I also know how to talk any subject under the roof intelligently. I mean, Duran, the thing about you going and saying that you would listen to the Democratic convention and you watch the Fox News and CNN or whatever it was. And this is because this is how you're informed. Yet you're sitting here next to your sister who's a global expert on all of this stuff, but you've never read anything that I've written. None of you guys have. I mean, at least when I took somebody on, I had the good sense to figure out what I'm going on up against. Believe me, these Machiavellian games, I know the game. I know the game. I know how to play the game. But I don't get lost in it. And also, I play with big boys. This petty backstabbing stuff, no, that's bullshit. And for example, oh yeah, I've been setting up a lot of people in this town. Setting them up, setting them up, setting them up. But not with lies, not with rumors, not with logic that has no sense under the law or any other world. And I mean, believe me, I argue my case. I mean, everybody just says, you're crazy, you're crazy. Well, tell me, stop, stop, shut up, stupid, or you don't know what you're talking about. That's because you don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, I've known. Believe me, Kendra, everybody at Foxcroft, one time somebody said to me, they said, we can never understand why Kendra's so mean to Quenby. I always knew. You were jealous of me. You were always jealous of me. And Daron was always working me as her ally. And Daron, don't think I didn't know. I mean, my Lord, I've known y'all my entire life. I've been watching you play these games my entire life. Dad saw through them all the time. I remember he saying, Daron, no. So anyway, I think that's about it I wanted to get through. So, I wish you all well. I guess when the tables are turned and the house of cards comes crashing down, yeah, you should be scared. Because shit's going to hit the fan. And a lot of people, I mean, Jonathan, I don't know what's going to happen with your company, uh, but particularly the urban centers. I mean, shit, the real estate prices are going to shoot down to nothing here in Washington. Believe me, they're going to collapse. And the more that they, everybody keeps on trying to push this out of, just ignore it and it'll go away. I mean, Trump, that's everybody like, oh my God, Trump, just ignore it till it goes away. I said, that's what everybody's doing. At the IMF, one of the women even told me that's what we do. We just ignore them till they go away. Why do you think getting somebody so angry? I mean, Jonathan, this is, you know, a fight between races for dominance. And all of the affirmative action stuff and everything like that is empowering the blacks. And believe me, when these groups have enough power, it's going to be payback time. That's why you get the friction between, if you guys would stop competing like this in your alpha dominance competition for supremacy, then we wouldn't be seeing all of this violence. I mean, nobody in this family ever challenges me on intellectually or a discourse. I don't think you can hold one. I mean, believe me, a lot of people in this town, one of the big wigs from one of the think tanks, he read one of my letters and he said, lady, you're right about everything you say. Everything. What are we going to do? What are we supposed to do? See, this is the big wig from a big wig think tank. He says, lady, what are we supposed to do? And I told him, I said, you give me a voice and we go to the courts and this is cleaned up. I just contacted one guy. I think, this one might pan out and then I'm home free. He was head at the financial integrity group over at the IMF. And I mean, I only worked there in the summer, but one of the things that I did, he was on vacation, but he had boxes and boxes and boxes of papers and papers and papers that he wanted organized and filed, in folders and organized. And I said, fine. I mean, it took me, I guess, a week or something, because a whole lot of stuff. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I was like, oh my Lord, would I love to meet this man and chew his ear for a couple of hours. Intelligent, but also, curious. Remember Mom with intellectual curiosity? And then I saw he left several years ago, but he intrigued me. I thought, this is somebody I got to keep my eye on. See, this is what human resource management is about. So he left the IMF. Now, for me, that's a good sign. That means, I can't continue ethically with this. I can't, in terms of my own ethics and morality, I can't continue to work here because it's all bullshit. So believe me, even in the department where I was, I'm going to get some support. There are a lot of people who are sick of this. A lot. I also think that's what, scares you all. So that's a good possibility. I mean, I already spoke with Brendan Sullivan, and, once I can get a good team, as you all know, I contacted Robert Mueller. Wait until September. If I get this guy from FIG, it's called Financial Integrity Group, and I think he's going to be interested. Oh, because we're on the same page. I'm home free. Yeah, I know we're racing against a clock here. This is where I'm with my landlord. I'm like, yes, sir. Okay, we're racing against the clock. You want to try and throw me out? Go ahead. If I find a group of people to start getting pissed off and start going after all of the criminals in this town, the winds of war change. And I think once, if I can get this guy, then I'm sure we can get Robert Mueller. And that's going to be very, very, very good. I love this story. When he went to work in private practice, because he already been a public and a prosecutor, he didn't do too well because he kept on telling his white collar clients that sound like me, that you should go to jail. That's not exactly what these, bigwig clients wants to hear. Oh, that's another thing. You remember Ann Patterson's son, Jonathan? Yeah, it's not gonna go local for them or the Patterson. Oh my God, the Pattersons are already up a creek, but David and Ann Patterson. When I went to David Patterson's speech in Bogota, afterwards somebody came after me and said your question was the most interesting part of the entire speech. I mean, I know for like Duran, when I went to the American Embassy in Bogota, when they were doing the Plan Colombia presentation. Oh, I know. When I stood up at the end of that presentation, all of the American women's clubs were like, how can she dare stand up and ask this question of a State Department official? Oh, like, that's exactly what we all should be doing. And the question was, this is all well and good to get rid of the drug production, but as long as you have the consumption increasing, that's no good. And he said to me, lady, what do you care as long as we get rid of fear? And that's the mentality of most of the American Women's Club's people. But Duran, the problem is FACO is in bed with the corporate world. And it's another one that's just a facade and fraudulent. Because oh Lord, you should see the stuff that they're doing on UN. I'm talking about the head FACO. They got a whole stuff. They go to UN Women, and when I read this stuff, I was like, oh my God, you're just regurgitating. But this looks like it was written by an 8-year-old. You should be challenging this. It's the same with I Am a Family Association. Same from World Bank Family Network. From day one, they told me about the problems of bullying, extramarital affairs, domestic violence, rampant. Everybody's covering it up. Oh, my Lord. Elizabeth LaGrange, who's the domestic violence coordinator there, she'll probably end up in jail for the rest of her life. I've got a perfect person to replace her, believe me. She's one of the activists and one of the victims. And I mean, she's not, she was a postal worker, but she is a one lady. Bit rough around the edges, but smart, straightforward, honest, and a lady. And it's not because of how she dresses or anything like that. It's how she acts and how she treats other people. So anyway, I guess I'm thinking, I think that's all really. So anyway, if you guys want a Zoom meeting, send me an email. We could do that. However, I will not sit here and be screamed at and insulted. Okay? If you guys can have a cohesive conversation where you actually listen, I mean, this is one of the things. I mean, particularly it's about the playlist and the links that don't work. I mean, there's a couple of videos, and I'm like, I mean, really, anybody who looks at that is like, this lady is dealing with morons or what? I mean, even the idiots over at the IMF didn't pull that kind of crap. And they were challenged. And this whole thing to Ron about Kira only being, oh, another thing, I guess, about Kira, her being an MBA in marketing. Duran, nobody in marketing knows what marketing is. It's sales. This is the problem. And the industry that Kira is in, I think this is also what you're understanding, what's concerning you and why you want to shut me up. It's a bubble that's going to explode. But what you don't understand is even if you shut me up, this is not going to stop anything. So I don't know. You guys got your little whatever going on there. So fine. It is what it is. When the winds of war change, you guys are destitute. Believe me, I'll never do this to you. Always make sure you have a roof over your head, food on your plate. Even though I think that the damage that has been done here, I think is irreparable. You guys want to have your little click over there? That's fine. I mean, Kenra, that's the thing. Yeah, you were like little Miss Popularity or whatever, because you social climbed with the click, the little clicks, and that's how they established their order. But when you get to be an adult, see that whole dynamics is really dysfunctional. People have to grow up. And that's another thing, Kendra. You want to get into this comes out what you guys are doing. I mean, really. I mean, people are going to be like, what the hell? This sounds like something Mom would do. But for example, you went to the Cordon Bleu. I saw in a bio. You never went to the Cordon Bleu. What was the and when you pull out the thing about the Pell Grant and how intelligent you are because of the Pell Grant, excuse me, I wouldn't talk too much about that Pell Grant, because I know how that was obtained. And that's exactly the type of cronyism that goes on all of the time. You didn't deserve that grant. I mean, Kenner, you were never a good student. I was always the great student. I mean, yeah, Duran was the straight A's, but we see, I mean, for me, the parallel that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be like, well, wait a second. Here we have these two women. One, yeah, a housewife who's, is at the country club all the time and doesn't, I mean, Duran, like, as you said to Mom and Dad, if you don't stimulate your mind, it atrophies. I mean, that's also one of the things that kept me sane in this town in the past 12 years is I've got all of my books and I'm on the internet and I'm on, with different people that I'm contacting and I'm with internationally, people who are contacting me about their cases or whatever. Because I constantly am learning something new. I mean, I think that's what's bothering you. Like with I could do the video editor, give me a couple days and I'll figure it out. That I don't think you liked very much. I don't think any of you liked very much. Because here I am in the minimum wage job, once again, more qualified. I mean, Jonathan, my Lord, if I had stayed in the financial markets, I'd be an extremely successful and wealthy woman today. And when I get the global expats, I know you guys laugh, ha 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 ha. But you know, have you ever looked at my business plan? Everybody has said it's the best business plan they've ever seen. Because when I do something, I do it well. And I don't putz around and try to get other people to do the work for me. Duran, that's always been, you know, your thing. You want to sit there and order everybody around. And that's what you're doing. I mean, Jonathan, you got him under your thumb when he was very, very little. I mean, I always, in my thought, I was like between mom, you, and Kendra, the poor guy didn't have a chance. But you know what? You guys gave me a real good boot camp for life. But the thing is I got a brilliant mind like Dad. So I don't need money. I don't need, you know, that's what I said when they took away my money. I'm like, what, you think this is, I told the bitch. I said, if you think you're going to intimidate me with that, you got another thing coming. I've been down this road too many times. So, okay, well, you got some more videos, tapes to look at. Oh, Lord. Okay, well, God bless and stay safe. And I wish you good luck. And I wish you well. Bye-bye.